Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the New Day with Natalie podcast. I am your host, Natalie Louise. It's great to be here with you. So in today's podcast, we are going to be talking all about what to do if your partner is pulling away and does not love you anymore. Okay, a lot of you guys messaged me about this very specific situation, so I figured it would make sense to talk about it on a podcast. Let's jump right into it. First of all, what does it mean to pull away? Because a lot of people have a different definition for that. When I am talking about pulling away, it means your partner is emotionally unavailable. It feels like you're kind of talking to a wall. And whenever you bring something up, it's like they're not acting the way they used to when you first met, when you first were dating and everything was just perfect and dandy and you're like, oh my God, I think this is my person. But now whenever you talk to them, it just feels like they don't care. They don't want to talk to you, and it really hurts your feelings because if you have anxious attachment, you are seeking validation and reassurance from your partner every time you have a conversation, every time you have a touch point, whether it's a text message, a phone call, a story view, a like on your Instagram post. That makes you feel safe and secure. And so if you're not getting that from your partner, yeah, it's safe to assume that you are afraid that they might reject you, they might pull away, and they probably don't love you anymore. Those are your thoughts, and that's kind of the cycle you're in as a coping mechanism to the fear of rejection. So if your partner's pulling away, they might not be doing nice things for you anymore. They might not be saying cute things to you anymore. And again, all of those things that they did for you and said to you, that brought you a lot of reassurance and comfort and security in the relationship. And now that is gone. And so it's very uncomfortable. Maybe your partner is starting to act a little passive aggressive and they're not telling you directly that they're mad at you about something, or maybe they're not telling you there's something bothering them. Maybe it doesn't directly involve you. It's just like a personal thing, but they're not telling you. So you kind of feel out of the loop and it's really uncomfortable. And so if you have anxious attachment, you feel uncomfortable bringing it up to them because you don't want to start a fight. You don't want to start something that might end in a breakup. So you just say nothing. But it's like you have to read your partner's mind and guess what they need. And you yourself are also doing that to your partner. So it's like two passive aggressive people that both have problems or conflicts, and they're not telling each other what the conflicts are. So what happens to that type of relationship when both people aren't communicating? It could end in a breakup, right? Another feeling you could experience if your partner is pulling away is you might feel like your partner's identity is changing, right? Like they might come across as being more edgy, more independent, more like, I need to sleep, I need time for myself. Like all of a sudden they're into self-care, when before you guys would like take naps together, you guys would spend all of your time together. So now it's like, why are they all of a sudden acting like they're different, like they're into different things, like their job takes priority over you, or their friends that they aren't even that close with are taking priority over you. So it feels really shitty from your perspective if your partner starts to pull away. And then the worst part is they stop sharing things with you. And you might have noticed your partner not getting super emotional, super vulnerable with you, especially if they have avoidant attachment. That's very common. But now it's like they're not even saying anything about their day. When you say good morning or good night, it's like, how was your day? They will give you nothing, or they just don't even respond. So it's like, you know nothing about their life. You feel them pulling away. And then when you are together, there's no physical touch. It's like you guys aren't kissing, you're not doing anything sexual, and it feels like such a platonic friendship type of relationship all of a sudden because there is nothing physical. And you, if you have anxious attachment, are feeling like, okay, I need touch in order to feel loved. If that's your love language, like physical touch. And if you're not getting that, it can really feel like there's a disconnect in the relationship. And it can feel like you are being threatened and they might leave you, or they're just not in love with you. A lot of times when you get to that point of, I might be rejected, your mind will instantly tell you they don't love me. It kind of goes hand in hand. And to feel like your partner doesn't love you, it confirms your deep-rooted belief that you are unlovable and you are not worthy of love. And so that's why you keep getting in these cycles, because it's like you're confirming this belief that you have that you don't want to have, but it's familiar, it's comfortable. So you keep stepping into these relationships because it's all that you know. it goes both ways. Anxious attached people have this experience, and so do avoidantly attached people. Although the avoidants don't feel the pull away from their partner as much as the anxious do, because typically it's the avoidant that does the distancing on purpose or indirectly. Now that we understand what's going on when I talk about your partner is pulling away, acting different, distancing themselves, which you probably already knew that, but I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Let's take a walk down memory lane and go to the beginning of your relationship when everything was good, because you're probably comparing your relationship right now to the beginning of the relationship when it was all perfect. And you're like, this is my person. Like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person. Okay. During that stage, let's call it the honeymoon stage. Okay. A lot of you guys probably already call it that. Like, it was so good. It's like we were on our honeymoon and it only lasted so long. A lot of people think it's like, okay, if you're in a relationship with someone, you have a honeymoon stage and then it ends. Then you enter the rest of your relationship. You enter into the stages of fights and conflicts and, working hard for love. And that honestly is not true, because my relationship with my boyfriend right now, we had the honeymoon phase in the beginning of our relationship, and we still do. Like, we still are so in love with each other, and my heart beats super fast when he says I love you, when he does sweet things for me, when I do nice things for him. Like, he still feels so in love with me. And we never really got into the stage of like nagging each other, getting mad at each other, constantly fighting, because we have a method that works when we have a disagreement with each other. We have a method that we use in order to not let our relationship dissolve and end in a breakup, okay, which we will get to, all right? Because in this podcast, we're talking all about what to do if your partner is pulling away. Basically, the honeymoon stage for you, you took that moment of your relationship, that time in your life, as the status quo of what your relationship should be. And so now that it's not feeling like the honeymoon stage anymore, your attachment system is alerting you that something is wrong, because now you don't feel safe, happy, secure like you did in the beginning of the relationship. It was kind of like false hope, because both of you were like, this is amazing. But both of you triggered each other, and now both of you are feeling unsecure in the relationship, okay? So your coping mechanisms are kicking in. The avoidant starts distancing themselves. They start to become more independent. They start to, fear the intimacy because it means commitment. It means being stuck. It means being suffocated. They don't like it. The anxious person, which is you, starts to overanalyze everything that your partner is doing to kind of bring yourself some level of peace. You're searching for body language that they're still into. You're searching for a text message that will give you validation that they're not going to leave you, because all you want is not to be left all alone and abandoned, right? So basically, when you leave the honeymoon stage, you essentially felt an energy shift. And when that energy shifted, the threat of feeling abandoned, rejected, left all alone, to feel unlovable started to kick in. When that happens, when you feel that threat, and when your avoidant partner starts to feel that threat of, I can't do this anymore. I don't think I'm into you anymore. I don't necessarily love our conversations. It's just kind of boring. It's like the same thing over and over. When both of you guys start to feel that way, the best thing to do is to develop communication skills, okay? This is something that I never did in my past relationships, and it's one thing that I really made it a point to do in my current relationship. And I kid you not, I think that's the secret to success in any healthy relationship, okay? But let's talk about it, because it's not as simple as like use communication. I mean, it kind of is, but let's get into it, okay? If you want to maintain the heat, the desire, and the bond in your relationship that you once had at the start of the relationship, it's really important to learn how to communicate your emotions, your needs, your feelings, your desires with your partner in an appropriate way, while also understanding where your partner is coming from. The idea is that you and your partner are a team, okay? It's not just you, like you as like this perfect angel that there's nothing wrong with you, and then it's your partner that has all the issues. No. You have your own flaws, your partner has their own flaws, and together, if you are aware that both of you are not perfect, but you want to make it work together, that is truly the foundation you need in order to make it work. That's the honest truth, okay? It's like understanding your partner's flaws and loving each other anyway, and working really hard to work past your insecurities, leaning into the resistance of feeling potentially rejected, feeling alone, feeling unworthy of love, feeling shame, feeling blamed, like leaning into those feelings and understanding why they're there, and then knowing that your partner isn't going to make you feel more shitty because they understand your insecurities and they're not going to like rub those in your face on purpose. Okay. Let me explain that a little bit further. So basically, because you and your partner are a team, you will run into problems together. You will run into conflicts together. And so it's up to both of you to find a solution to, or a resolution to, those problems together. Okay. So you watching this video and being like, okay, my partner's pulling away, it's their fault, they need to fix it. That's the wrong mindset. We are a team together. We need to come together and work through our challenges together and find a solution together. Okay. And in order to get to that point, to find a resolution, you need to use communication. So if you feel your partner pulling away, the first thing to do is to communicate the way that you are feeling, and understand that if your partner has that avoidant attachment, they might not feel super comfortable being very vulnerable and open with the way that they are feeling. Or maybe your relationship, there's not a safe environment created that your avoidant partner feels comfortable enough to tell you like, I'm feeling overwhelmed with the speed of our relationship, or this idea of commitment is really overwhelming me. I just need some space. Okay. So coming together and using direct communication to understand where your partner's coming from and where you are coming from is key. Because if your partner tells you, I need space, you can't interpret that as they're going to break up with me. It's best to interpret that as what they are saying. They just need space. Because if you love and trust and respect your partner, them asking for space shouldn't feel like a threat of them leaving you, but instead it should be a request for you to meet their needs so that you guys can be closer. Does that make sense? That's why a lot of times avoidants just distance themselves without telling you, because that's what they need. And they're not just going to ask for it. They're just going to do it because it's what makes them feel good. But if you have an agreement with each other and you understand each other and you're like, listen, no matter what it is, you can feel comfortable telling me what you need and I will give it to you no matter what, then it feels a lot safer to open up with your partner and really meet each other's needs before they start to run away. And then that way you won't feel them triggering your fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of them not loving you, fear of you not being lovable. Like if you straight up tell your partner, I have a fear of you leaving me because it's happened in the past and I don't want it to happen again. And I also have a really uncomfortable feeling of being unlovable because every time someone leaves me, it makes me feel like I am unlovable. And so if you can share that with your partner, it can also strike up a conversation of your partner sharing their true feelings as well. Okay. It might not happen right away though. Some people need time and they need to just feel safe enough to share those emotions. If you make your partner feel like they're not alone and you aren't going anywhere and you'll give them space that they need, that will bring them the peace and encouragement to actually follow through on what you are saying and what they need. Does that make sense? Sometimes if your partner, if they have an avoidant attachment, it could be hard for them just to come up to you first and be like, this is how I'm feeling. So one of the things that I suggest when it comes to open communication is to create a schedule with your partner that you can have a very open conversation on a very specific day every single week, every single month, or every quarter. Like you decide the frequency in which you just have an open conversation that you are prepared to talk to your partner. If you go to couples therapy, you kind of know you're going to have to be vulnerable. You're going to have to be open. And it's kind of like an intimidating thing because someone else is listening. But if you're with your partner and you agree like, yeah, let's do this every month. Like we'll just have an informal check-in and see how you're doing. See if there's anything I can do to make you happier. And just like check in with where we're at in the relationship. Then it can feel like, okay, every month or every quarter, we just talk. And it's very open, and you have to promise that your feelings won't get hurt, or you're not going to hold grudges against your partner if something is said, because that's the idea of being open and honest. It's like if you feel jealous because your partner is talking to another girl, or if you are frustrated because your partner isn't spending time with you and it's making you feel like they don't like you, or they don't want to be with you, or they're going to leave you. Having like being able to say those things out loud is like you're saying your truth, you're saying your deepest fear, and that can be really scary. But if you feel comfortable enough, and if you know there's a certain day of the week or month that you have that conversation, it can become easier over time. Trust me, it's like the snowball effect. It was really hard for me at first to just ask my partner, hey, how do you feel about the relationship? Like, where are you at? Because before, I would never even ask that, because I was afraid that my partner would be like, oh, well, now that you brought it up, I'm actually like not sure I want to do this anymore. So like, it's not your fault, it's mine. I'm just going to end this relationship. Like, I was afraid that conversation would happen. But with my partner now, it's like we trust, love, and respect each other so much that it's like, I'm not afraid to say my deepest fears, because when I bring them up, he knows to listen, reassure me, validate me, and share what he has to say as well. So this is what I suggest. Find a certain time, week, every month, every quarter, what you like, and then just talk to your partner and ask them, like, create an open space to just communicate and just be like, hey, listen, I just want to check in. How do you feel about the relationship? Is there anything I can do to make you happier? Is there anything I have done that made you uncomfortable? And is there anything you want to bring up in this time together? It's very informal, okay? And basically, it just allows you to like share what you actually want to share with your partner. I remember when I was younger, I was so uncomfortable with the idea of bringing up something to my parents that I was concerned about, something I was scared about, something I wanted, something I was embarrassed about, like whatever it is. I did not know how to tell my parents that. It was very hard for me to communicate. But when my mom came to me and she would tuck me in at night, she would just be like, is there anything you want to tell me? I all of a sudden felt so free and open to just spill out my guts and say everything I needed to say in that moment, no matter what it was. It just felt like a very safe and free environment. And so to this day, it's still kind of challenging for me to just be like, this is how I feel. This is what I need to talk about. And so if you can do that in a space where like, you know, you're going to share something and someone asks you, what do you have to say? Or what do you have to share? Is there anything you want to talk about? It makes it a lot more comfortable to communicate. And I'm telling you, when you communicate with your partner, that's the only way you can find a resolution as a team, okay? The reason why communication is so essential and so important is because it allows you to see inside of your partner's mind, inside their heart, and like basically take your partner's map for like how they operate, what they want out of their life, what they want out of their day. And it's like, it's a moment to just understand them on such a deeper level. And that goes both ways. If you don't communicate, it's like you're just guessing. You're guessing what they're thinking, guessing what they are wanting. And if you give them the wrong thing, it's like you misinterpret love languages. Like if you love someone by cooking for them, and then your partner doesn't understand that like that's your love language, and they're like, I'm gonna go out to eat, I'm gonna go stop at In-N-Out, it's like that can really hurt your partner. But when you're on the same page and you communicate that and you tell them like, cooking is my love language, it hurts me when you don't eat it, or it hurts me when you would rather get In-N-Out, it's like your partner's then aware and they can make the change, and together you guys are on the same page. Does that make sense? Also, like within any relationship, you're going to run into conflicts. And so most of the clients that I work with one-on-one run into a conflict in the relationship, and it typically ends in a breakup, because the first conflict that you've ever ran into, you guys didn't know how to solve. And the way that you solved it was a breakup, because you didn't want to solve it. It's a lot easier to run away from your problems than actually look at them head on and like figure out a solution, okay? Or like open up your mouth and be vulnerable and share like, this is what I need, this is how I feel. So it's easier to just end the relationship and break up. So again, if you communicate, it's easier to actually share what is going on, what's making you feel distressed, uncomfortable. Because honestly, it's like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I still feel like I am in the honeymoon stage with my boyfriend to this day, because whenever there's a conflict, which we don't have a ton, but when we do, I just say it right away. And if there's a problem that he has, he'll tell me right away. we don't hide our feelings. We don't hide our needs, our desires. We are so open with each other. And that truly has built such a beautiful and strong foundation for our relationship. Also, building trust with each other requires both of you to have open communication with each other, because if you don't know what your partner's thinking or doing or wanting, then it can feel like they might be doing something behind your back. And so having that open communication is critical. The other thing that I would recommend if you feel like your partner is pulling away is to remember that you are your own person and you still have your own life. And so maybe you're just spending too much time analyzing your partner and nitpicking small little things and worrying that that's because they don't love you. And instead, if you refocused your energy onto yourself, onto your schedule, onto things that make you happy, then you probably won't worry so much about the fact that they are acting different and that's because they're going to break up with you. So when you are in a relationship and there's one person that's anxious, one person that's avoidant, typically the avoidant is going to want space at some time. And so in order to kind of make that type of relationship work, communication is key. But the other thing is make sure that both people in the relationship are not heavily leaning on each other. Typically, the anxious person is more codependent upon the avoidant individual. And so the best thing to do if you have anxious attachment in that situation is to build a lifestyle and a schedule that keeps you busy, excited, and just in love with life, okay? Because when you're doing your own thing and you're kind of out and about, and then you see your boyfriend or girlfriend and it's like, oh, life is so good with them, and then you have your schedule and then you go out and do your thing, you're gonna feel a lot more satisfied with life, but also you're gonna be a lot happier in your relationship because you then have stories to update each other on. And because you spend some time apart, it also makes you wanna see each other that much more, because time apart makes you want each other more. That's just how it works on a psychological level. So the best thing I would recommend is, I know this is counterintuitive, but if you feel like your partner is pulling away, give them space. Figure out your life. Figure out what makes you you. Try a new hobby. Go on a walk. Read a book. Call a friend. Like, just do other things that bring you happiness. And I guarantee their pulling away won't be the center of your mind, and you'll be able to redirect your energy into something more useful. Sometimes avoidance just needs space to decompress. And if you tried the communication thing and it didn't necessarily work, just giving them space in general will be good, because decompressing, being able to process emotions, and then coming back together, it makes the coming together part so much more sweet and exciting and thrilling, and like the desire will be there. That is it for this episode, you guys. If you have a very specific relationship issue, or you just want to tell me your story and you want some of my relationship advice, feel free to sign up for a video call coaching session with me. I'll leave the link for that down below. If you feel like you want to work on your attachment style, you want to move towards being more securely attached, feel free to read my book, How to Get Over Your Avoidant Ex and Become Securely Attached. If you're still in a relationship with an avoidant, this book is great for you as well, because it just helps you understand your attachment style, your partner's attachment style, and why you're so obsessed and addicted to them, and just breaking that cycle so that you can truly have that healthy, secure, stable relationship, okay? And I also teach you how to heal your anxious wounds as well to be more secure. Please follow and subscribe to my podcast, and make sure to follow me on YouTube, on TikTok, and Instagram. I'll leave all the social media stuff down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. So if you're interested in that book, I'll leave that link down below. It's on Amazon. It's $11, and I poured my heart and soul into it, so I hope it helps you. That's it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.